All right, next, I'd like to invite upon stage the first AWS keynote by Gautam. Gautam is the head of startup solutions architecture at AWS India. Gautam has extensive experience partnering with clients to advance their competitive positions by developing and executing business strategies, leveraging cloud, analytics, redesigning business processes, and advising on technology investments. He specializes in deep learning, generative AI, cloud computing, search, distributed computing, emerging technologies, IT architecture, technology economics, leading solution architecture, and engineering teams. To speak about building and scaling responsible AI applications on AWS, can I have up on stage Gautam? A loud round of applause for Gautam, please.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, Kochi. Always happy to be here. It's fun to be here in the God's own country, and perfect day to discuss about cloud. It's cloudy out there, so it's like all stars lined up for us. So excellent. I've picked a topic which is slightly, probably many of you in the room wouldn't have expected. I've not picked up something just because this is the hype, but this is where a lot of, I would say, struggle in terms of helping take some of these applications or things that you're building to production, right? I think this is based on the learnings that we had for the last 2 years. And it doesn't mean that this is the only stuff that we are doing, right? There are a lot of interesting announcements that you must have heard about, EKS, auto mode, new features in VPC lattice and all of that. So that's amazing stuff which is happening all around. So don't think that this is the only stuff that we are focused on. And thanks to the community heroes here, really love to sort of catch up with all of you, and look forward to spend the rest of the day. And warm welcome to all the startups, developers, and the business folks from Kochi. The topic here is build and scale responsible AI applications on AWS. I'm using the word responsible AI, and I will double click on some of these things on why this is important and what are the challenges that one would face when building a responsible AI application, and what we are doing as AWS to help you overcome some of those challenges. But if you have to step back and see where and how this entire journey evolved in the last 2 years, people would start with the basic definitions. Oh, what is generative AI? If you are in 2023, maybe like 2 years back, we were talking about what is generative AI, how do I choose model? Is this secure? Right? How do I get started? Where do I get started? Right? So these were the basic questions, and we call this as the year of POCs, right? So 2 years back, I think everyone were getting used to certain things, testing the waters, doing certain initial POCs, trying to learn few things and all of that. But the year later, things have changed, right? So in terms of using those learnings and applying those learnings to something which is much more meaningful, right? So again, developers and businesses started thinking about how we can actually embed some of these into what we are doing. How we can prioritize my projects, how I can lower my costs, right? How I can scale this, right? So we built something, but we're not able to scale, right? So there are a lot of issues in terms of scaling. Which model should I use? Because every week there is some new model or the other. So which is the right model for me, right? So how do I select the model? How do I do evaluations, right? So those are the things that sort of became the talk of the town, in a year later, or maybe even early this year, right? But what people are actually talking now and what people are trying to solve is more focused on these areas, right? How we can go deeper and wider. People have realized the benefits of those initial successes or wins that they had, but how we can leverage agents, how we can get all my employees to embrace some of these things, right? It's not like I want to do only one project on this, but pretty much how I can embed some of these things into practically everything that we are doing. And again, there are a lot of challenges when you want to do some of these things, right? Can we look at domain-specific models today, right? So are there any specific models that can help in for biomedical application that I'm building? Are there any specific models that can help me in speed up our drug discovery process? Or is there some specific model that can help me do the translation into some very rare or the dialects which are not so popular, for example, right? So those are the areas that are becoming more and more niche. And multimodal is something which is is going to be the next big thing. And there are a lot of interesting applications and practical use cases that we are seeing, especially in a country like India. We will expect that a lot of things will shift towards voice, right, in the coming years. It's not about text. I mean, looking at the population, especially if you go to tier 2, tier 3 cities or towns and towards the Bharat side of thing, most of the development and innovations will happen on the voice and the media side of things. And yes, I mean, text will be there, but voice is something that is going to transform multitude of applications in terms of how some of you would actually go and do business in using these technologies. So we are here in 2025, but how are we helping and how are we envisioning some of these things, how we can make things easier, right? So I'll just pick one example. It's not like this is the only thing, but as a central piece using Amazon Bedrock, how we can actually get started if you have to build something from scratch today, right? What are the things that we are helping you with as part of the Bedrock family? The vision for Bedrock is super simple. It enables you with only 4 important things, and these are the ones. Choice. It gives you choice of selecting the model that you want. You're not tied to a particular model, but it's pretty much like a marketplace now. You can see multitude of models that are being available under one single umbrella. You can pick and choose what is required. It enables you to customize to your requirements, right? So, if you want to do fine tuning, if you want to do a RAG, that has all the tools and capabilities to get you started. But these applications cannot stay on its own, right? It needs to integrate with your enterprise systems. It needs to talk to other things that you have in your enterprise landscape or the applications that you have built. So the integration is going to be the key. And finally, most important, if you're really building for your end customer is going to be an enterprise or a government or some other business. For that, you require stronger security and governance layers. And without these things, you'd not be able to even qualify and help them or help deploy those capabilities in their landscape. Talking about choice, we had started with these partnerships a few years ago, starting with A21 Labs, then our own set of capabilities from Amazon, then Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Stability, and so on and so forth. And a lot of traction we saw from the open source world, especially with Meta, Mistral, and from a capability standpoint, again, we saw a lot of uptake from Anthropic models. I think that's been hugely popular in India, again, from what we have seen. But we just didn't stop there. We still wanted to give choice to customers, right? And in reInvent, we announced the line of models, the new set of frontier models from Amazon. So we announced Amazon Nova Micro, Nova Lite, Nova Pro, Nova Premier. Nova Premier is coming soon, but we have all the other models which are GA. And these are understanding models, right? So we are talking about how we can actually get started with how we can start building multi-model applications using these things. But more importantly, what we are also seeing is how we can support other modalities, right? Are there anything that can help with the creative side of things? Can something be developed for creating your ad prints and stuff like that, right? So those are the capabilities. Again, we heard from the customers, we heard from the developers. These are the needs that we need to work on. And Amazon Nova Canvas and Amazon Nova Reel. So these are the 2 foundation models that have been that we have actually GA'd this year to help you build those creative applications. And if you look at some of these things again from day one, all of these have some of these capabilities. I will slightly go into detail on these elements. Probably I'll keep it a bit light. We'll get warmed up. We don't want to sort of go very deep at the beginning of the day. Maybe I'll start with few things, right? The most important thing which I talked about is the model evaluation. Many a times people will think, okay, what is the right model for me? What is the right model for this business use case? Maybe model X is good for doing something, but it may not be the right model for some other use case, for a use case B. How do you evaluate these things, right? So we have actually set up a framework that will actually enable you to evaluate models, or in simple word, compare models and see what is how those perform, and then pick the right ones for the right use case. And what are the capabilities that you need for doing these things? You need to have your own data set, or you need to use the curated data sets. There are some standard data sets that are made available that you can actually go and use it, or if it is very custom, you can actually go and build your own model for evaluation, and you can bring that data set as well. And we need to, again, apply human evaluation or automatic evaluation, or the automatic could be even a LLM can be used as a judge today. And then you need to have the ability to have in-house team or an outsourced team to go and do the reviewing. So that capability you need to have. Then you need to have the ability to have the custom metrics, and finally have the report so that you can actually compare the models side by side. So all of this, again, if you have to build from scratch, I think this is going to take forever, right? So what Bedrock offers is a ready-to-use mechanism to go and try out all of these things within the platform, and without needing to use any other third-party service, or avoiding you to sort of build everything on your own. So why we need evaluation, again, so these are the primary reasons, right? So how do you identify the functional gaps? Or, how do you assess what are the shortcomings of the model? And you want to also assess the performance over a period of time. And if you look at the two types of evaluation that I talked about, which is the automatic evaluation and the human eval. On automatic evaluation, we generally look at things such as accuracy, toxicity, robustness, and all of that, right? And then there are a bunch of algorithms supporting that in our bunch of statistical techniques that are available, be it F1 score or BERT score, and things like that. And on human evaluation, these are very, I would say, it depends from person to person, right? It's how do you interpret, how do you define creativity, how do you define style? So these are the things where human evaluation is important, and that platform actually offers you a way to sort of go and do this human evaluation for these elements. If you want to build something on coherence, if you want to measure something on what is the tonality of the output that is being generated, and things like that. Again, there are multiple methods. You must have seen thumbs up, thumbs down. In most of the chat boxes, when the LLM generates the response, there will be a thumbs up or thumbs down. The reason why that is important is all that feedback goes into the system for further fine-tuning. There are, again, different fine-tuning techniques that are there, DPO, KPO, and all of that you must have heard about. That is something that actually captures the feedback and goes and refines the model further based on the user feedback. And finally, you need to still show and have a very intuitive way to explain to the end user, right? So you need to generate the reports, and all those reports are available today within the Bedrock environment, which you can actually share with the business team or some of the stakeholders, and actually show them how the model behaves across different metrics that you have defined. And like I said, if I have to summarize, so model evaluation offers you these three capabilities. Either automatic or human evaluation, or you can even use LLM as a judge. And then it allows you to bring your own data sets if required, or you can use curated data sets. And then it also has predefined customs or predefined metrics, or you can use your own custom metrics. So when we look at customization, I use the word customization in my third slide. So what are the approaches for customizations, right? So one is the simple, you can start with the basic prompts. You can just use different prompts. There are zero-shot, multi-shot techniques that you can use, and you can ensure how you want to prompt it and customize as per you. And you can sometimes say that you are a expert in so-and-so domain, and then you set some precedents, and then you go and start the conversation, right? So those are the things that you can do from the basic prompt engineering. The next stage is the RAG, or the retrieval augmented generation. The third one is fine-tuning, and finally we have the continual pre-training. How we are enabling all of this from a single environment without having to switch back and forth between multiple things, right? So the first one is in terms of the prompt management, and like I said, you can, over a period of time, as you build applications, you will end up with hundreds or if not thousands of prompts. Managing those prompts itself becomes a nightmare at some point of time. So how do you manage your prompts, right? That's the fundamental thing. So you can, maybe there are a set of prompts which you have used for a finance application, there are a set of prompts that you have used for a HR application, then there are a bunch of prompts that you have used for marketing application, right? You can create different groups, different categories, and you can manage and maintain the versions of the prompts that you have used for your application in one common place, right? And that actually brings in some degree of governance and visibility on how you can actually manage these things. And you can actually go and test out these in the playground and see what's working, and if this works, you can save it as a newer version. If you want to fine tune it, if you want to change the model, you can just go change a few things and save it as a new version. Right, so everything you're managing from a single place instead of you hard coding this in your code today, right? I think that's actually not a great practice from a development standpoint. The other important aspect is the rapid prototyping. Many a times you'll be challenged to build prototypes if you're building an MVP, if you want to test out the waters, if you're doing some proof of concept, you need to actually build something very, very fast, right? And you'll not have time to go and build everything from scratch. What we're enabling you is a mechanism where you can just use drag and drop feature and generate the entire flow for you, right? So that's something that we are calling it as prompt flow, and that enables you to sort of build an end-to-end workflow or an application that enables you to get started. But if it doesn't talk to a backend, right, it's of no use. So one of the ways to connect to the backend or the knowledge base is Bedrock knowledge base, and that is the keystone, that is the cornerstone for RAG systems. And if you look at the current knowledge base again, it enables you to do a bunch of things. Many a times we take it for granted on how we parse the data. We use embedding models to parse the data, but there are so many different ways to do the chunking itself. You can use hierarchical chunking, you can use semantic, you can do fixed chunking. There are so many different techniques that you can use. Sometimes you'll say, oh, I came up with my own different way to chunk it, how I can do that. You can just go and pick the custom chunking option, and that will actually go and invoke a Lambda, and in the Lambda you can have your own custom logic, and you can do the custom chunking as required. So instead of doing all of this on your own, we are enabling you to do some of these things in a much simpler manner. And these are the common sources, and we'll keep on adding more and more. People wanted absolutely minimum stuff when they got started. We heard from many of you that you needed a sort of web crawler where you can actually go and crawl the data from some of the URLs so that you can actually parse the data and all of that. Some of you said we need integration with Confluence Cloud. Some of you said we need to connect to the Salesforce and all of that. So we built all these connectors that will enable you to go and directly integrate and bring the data into the knowledge or made it available as part of the knowledge base. And the third thing which I talked about after RAG was actually the fine-tuning, right? So in fine-tuning, sometimes you can do fine-tuning, but somebody might have already done fine-tuning for you. Maybe somebody has done that work and uploaded the model weights in Hugging Face somewhere. You just want to bring those model weights and deploy it on Bedrock. Again, you don't want to take the headache of self-hosting and all of that. So you can actually go and bring that model and import that custom model into the Bedrock environment. Or if you choose to do fine-tuning, you can actually go and do the custom fine-tuning as well, right? So Bedrock today offers you to do fine-tuning as well as continued pre-training. We also announced model distillation in reInvent. Model distillation is something where you are using a larger model to generate the data set for a smaller model, and then use that results or the responses to improve the accuracy of the smaller model, right? So those are the techniques that will help you do these customizations and build very purpose-built stuff. But again, as we are seeing more and more, the real applications are actually starting to use agents. And agents are powering pretty much all the workflows today, right? And how we can make things simpler for you. And there are tons of agent frameworks today, right? And you can choose to use any of the open source agent framework today, or you can use any of those other, built by some of the ISV providers. But within Bedrock, again, there is an agent framework that enables you to sort of execute the entire workflow and also enable you with multi-agent collaboration as we speak. And some of those things got better. I think you should just go and check out some of the new feature. Post reinvent, there were some of the upgrades or the updates that we have done to the agent framework as we speak. And why these are important, right? Again, the Bedrock agents are something where you don't have to, again, think about which model will it support, how to actually provide the instructions, how to connect to the relevant data sources and all of that. The relevant data source will come from KB, the model selection is from the models which are in the Bedrock itself, and then finally you can orchestrate the entire thing and connect using Lambda functions to downstream applications. And like I said, you don't have to restrict to the Bedrock agents, right? So we're not saying use only Bedrock agents. Yes, I mean, there are benefits of using Bedrock agents, but you have already built something using some other external agents or agentic framework, you can always bring that and you can just integrate as part of that. And you can even enhance it, or maybe you can just choose to use the knowledge bases within the Bedrock and things like that. So you'll have that flexibility to switch back and forth few of those things. And fully managed Bedrock agents, again, we are talking about tools that are made as part of the action groups. That's the new, there are some enhancements that we have had as part of the reInvent announcements. Knowledge bases, again, support for more and more connectors. Code interpretation, memory capability, something which was actually an ask from most of you. Long-term memory, long-term context. Logging, tracing, a lot of improvements that have happened over a period of time. And most importantly, guardrails, right? I will touch upon guardrails in a while, but there are also a few other requirements where, there are different types of inferencing. One for real-time applications, then there are batch applications, right? There are things that you want to do overnight, like as a batch job, maybe you're translating a corpus of data, or you're, doing some insights extraction from some of the documents, like millions of documents overnight. So the way to do it is very different, and there are different mechanisms or the price options that are available to do the batch inferencing. So batch inferencing is very different. So you need to ensure that you can do using the lowest possible cost. That will be like a completely managed job, and you don't have to worry about job failing in between and things of that nature. The other thing, which when I talk about responsible AI, and this is something super important, is actually on how we can control all these things, right? Undesirable and irrelevant topics, or how we can avoid toxicity and safety, how we can improve the overall privacy and protection. So for all of these things, the answer was Bedrock guardrails. And simple thing is, let's say you have built a fintech application, right? So maybe it's a customer bot or a fintech bot or financial advisor bot that you have put it out on the web. You don't want someone to come and use that bot to talk about sports or politics, discuss politics and all of that. You want to restrict that to a domain for which you have built that application. And to control all of that, you need capabilities that are there in guardrails. The first one is how we can do the content filtration itself, right? So how we can avoid insensitive language or toxic language to get into the system, for example. How you can enable these filters, for example, misconduct, on maybe there are prompt attacks as well, how you can limit those things. So you can actually go and select the filter, and you can check the strength of the filter, and you can decide how much you want to permit, or how much you want to allow, or how much you want to limit these things. And which topics you want to deny, for example, right? So you have built like I said, a financial advisor bot. You don't want people to talk about something else. You can actually go and say what are the denied topics, what are the sample phrases and things of that nature. And sensitive information filter. We don't want the information to get leaked, right? For example, maybe there are some, you have an agent that you're using behind the scenes that is actually talking to a CRM behind the scenes, and that actually gets the response of the that comes back with the customer data, maybe assume. You don't want all that customer information be part of the response, right? You can actually go and filter all these PII related stuff, and you can control how you want to do it. You can actually go and mask it, you can completely remove it, or you can actually do different, you can take different actions based on what you want to do there. And most importantly, again, is on the word filters, right? So which are the words that you want to filter out? You can have a custom library, you can build your own dictionary, you can upload your vocabulary, and you can say, okay, these are the things that we want to sort of filter out. And these things will again differ from language to language. Maybe there are different dictionaries or vocabulary sets that are available. That's something that you can actually use and improve your overall, I would say, the quality of the application. The final thing is in terms of how you can improve the overall factual checks, right? How you can ensure the response that you're getting is the right response, right? So that's the grounding check that we need to do, and this is the contextual grounding check that we talk about. There are more features that have been added in the recent reInvent announcements you must have seen. But one of the things that we did early on is in terms of ensuring that we check for relevance, right? So especially if it's a RAG application, maybe you're an insurance company, or your end customer is an insurance company for whom you have built a bot, and you don't want someone to be given wrong information, right? So if there is something which is documented in the policy information, and if you want to ensure that the model sticks to what is actually mentioned in the document and not hallucinate or go out of the way, then you can actually go and enable some of these grounding checks and enable relevancy checks. That will actually limit the degree of hallucination that can actually happen. And finally, when we did some of these things, we thought, okay, why just restrict to the models that we have? What if you're self-hosting a model? Maybe you have hosted a model on your own, maybe on an EC2 or somewhere, but you still you have a fully working end-to-end application, but you're missing the guardrail piece. You don't have that, all those good stuff that we talked about in the last few slides, right? You can actually go and talk to or enable the guardrail independently, even if you're hosting your own model, and still make the most of what is actually available as part of the guardrail. So that's something that was a recent addition. Again, we added that almost like 2 quarters ago. And this is something which is loved by most of the devs across the globe and being widely used. There is a lot more here, but I just wanted to sort of give you a gist in terms of what's out there, what's available, what we are doing. And in reInvent, we have actually added more and more features. So there will be some of those reInvent reconnect sessions. And we also have AI Conclave that is happening in January. So there will be more updates and opportunity for you to learn some of these new things, try out on your own as part of the workshops that we'll be doing. But this is where you can actually get started today, right? When we talk about doing things in AWS, unless you actually do stuff, you'll not know, right? And all of you are devs here, so I don't have to, preach some of you. But unless you try some of these things, it's very difficult to appreciate. So go test, take all these things for a test drive and start building these applications, right? So, yeah. With that, I just want to say that. The art of is just the art of possible, right? And it's up to your imagination on what you can build with these things. And our goal is to make sure you can actually build all these responsible AI applications with minimal overhead. We don't want you to spend unnecessary time, using, various moving parts for which there is absolutely no support. And ensure that how you can actually start thinking about the business logic and stay focused on what you want to build for your business, right? So that's the overall gist. I'll be around for some more time, and we have our colleagues as well from AWS will be around for the rest of the day. Happy to sort of connect and share more on any of these if you're interested. All right. Have a great day. Thank you.
So we are talking about no responsible AI, and in the guardrail session, no, there is an option to filter like none for the hatred or for the misconduct. So even as a provider, AWS, why the none option is there for filtering out like such things?
Right. I think great question. So again, it boils down to the choice and what we want to sort of give to the end user, right? There are also a lot of folks who build red teaming applications. So red teaming applications are the ones who check for the security of the models and the quality of the models, how they respond to adversarial stuff. I mean, if you're talking about things around certain nuclear thing or the toxic language that you want to use, or something around some biomedical hazard-related stuff, you don't want some of those specialists who are building those applications to be limiting these things. So there are companies, there are startups who are actually building these applications, and they need to have these capabilities so that they have built custom algorithms and custom filters that can actually go and do those evaluations over a period of time. But yeah, I think end of the day, the way we are thinking is in terms of choice, and a lot of things are subjective in nature. Some of these, like even when you talk about toxic language, what is allowed in certain cultures is generally seen as inappropriate in some other cultures. So I think that degree of filtering and option to sort of see what you want to allow, what you want to restrict is something that we thought is a good way to add those things. And again, all of this came as feedback from devs and the customers like you. And yeah, keep us honest and keep sharing those feedbacks coming to us.
Thank you so much, Gautam. I'd like to invite Siddharth and Dijesh on stage to share a small gift or a token of appreciation from our end to Gautam. Can we have a loud round of applause for Gautam, please?
Oh, man, thank you. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.